Welcome back to the Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney, and today I am by myself because I want to do a recap on the wedding that I did last week. I feel like it was a really good day, a few hiccups that we were able to navigate. I feel like it was, I just think that there were a lot of learning lessons, I guess, in there that would be good for everybody to hear. So let's dive in and talk about the wedding that I did last Friday. Um, if you're watching this and you see my eyes going from side to side, I'm trying to figure out how to turn the notifications off on my computer because I always forget to turn them off before I start recording podcasts. But anyway, let's dive into the wedding from last week. So, it was a beautiful wedding in Palm Beach. There were about, I want to say like 150 guests. I don't remember off the top of my head, but around 150 guests. So the ceremony was at a beautiful church called St. Edward's, Roman Catholic Church in Palm Beach on the island. And then the reception was at the Pelican Club in Jupiter, which you'll hear this later, but those are not exactly right next to each other. Hence why it was a little bit of a complicated day. Again, not a bad day. It was a beautiful day, but a little bit complicated. I will say we started the morning, which with I texted the bride, early, like right when I woke up because hair and makeup started, I want to say like by 8 a.m. So in the morning before I was there on property, I was at least texting the bride, making sure, hey, did hair and makeup arrive? Is everything going well? And she was like, yeah, everyone's here. They started. We're all good. And I was like, okay, cool. So I leave my house, and as I'm driving, I live about 45 minutes away from the hotel that they're staying at, which they were getting ready at a hotel in Jupiter. They were getting ready at the Wyndham, which is right across the street from Jupiter. If you are doing a wedding at the Pelican Club or in the Jupiter Palm Beach area, one, Pelican Club is a great venue. Two, the Wyndham is a great hotel right by the Pelican Club to get ready at. And the Wyndham actually does weddings as well. It's a very nice hotel. So you could look into doing the Wyndham for your wedding. Anyway, I'm about 45 minutes away from the Wyndham when I'm maybe 30 minutes into my drive. The bride texts me, hair and makeup is running behind. And I was like, okay, just make sure you're done. And she was like, okay, hair and makeup's running like an hour behind. And I just was like, no, no, don't tell me this. Because look, as a planner, I can make sure that hair and makeup knows, how many ladies need services. What time are you going to start? What time are you going to end? But as far as that, I can't make them do their job. That's kind of my thing with all of the um, vendors is I can confirm and make sure that everyone knows the plan, but I'm not a DJ. I'm not a photographer. I don't come to the wedding with, an $8,000 camera or a sound system. Like, I can help navigate if something goes wrong. I can do my best, but if hair and makeup's an hour late, there's not much I can do other than rush them. So anyway, I was like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. Not gonna lie, on the inside, I was like, oh shit. But I tried to stay as calm as possible and just, roll with the punches. So I get there, and when I open the door, the photographer is in there and she's like sweating. And I was like, what is wrong? She's like, it's so hot in here. And there was so many girls in the suite. Anyway, I look over and they're just because so remember the bride texted me, hey, they're running an hour behind. And I was like, just make sure you and your mom are ready. You and your mom, because we have to get you in your dress and we have to take pictures of you getting dressed with your mom zipping you up. We can deal with the bridesmaids after that. But just make sure you, bride, most important. So anyway, when I get there, I'm thinking, hair makeup in general is running behind, but the bride should be done. By the time I got there was about the time I was arriving when I thought, hair makeup should be wrapping up soon. I'm going to be there to make sure that the bride is getting dressed, help her with the first look with her dad. So by the time I was getting there, I wanted to get the bride dressed pretty soon, and they were just starting her makeup. I will add a side note here. This was a wedding management client, so I was only hired for the last couple months. I didn't pick this hair and makeup team, and I probably wouldn't recommend them again. just because I don't know what happened. I really don't. I know that they weren't too happy with like the suite that the hotel had and like the table space in there, but they no special accommodations were asked in advance. Sorry guys, I needed to sneeze. Um, no special accommodations were asked in advance for extra tables or extra chairs or anything. If they need that, I can always try to work with the hotel to get that for them. But I do know that when they got there, they, wanted another table. Um, but still, that shouldn't make you hours, like an hour plus behind schedule. So anyway, when I got there, they were just starting the bride's makeup, like just starting. And I was like, okay, great. So there's really nothing we can do. We can't start pictures without the bride. The bride needs to be in the pictures. So, I mean, the photographer took her dress and did detail shots, but that was already done early. So we kind of waited and I just tried my best to help where we could. The photographer was fantastic. She also jumped in and was helping, to just prep. And we finally got the bride's makeup done. We did a really quick little pajama photo on the bed. And basically I just went into like mom mode or drill sergeant mode in the nicest way possible of just like, okay, get dressed. We're doing this. Like on to the next. And, everyone's staying calm, but we are moving things along. Um, so we got the bride dressed. We did quick little pictures with her mom zipping her up. And then I sent my assistant upstairs to get her dad ready to do the first look. So he was in position while we were finishing up with the bride, getting her shoes on and stuff, which was perfect timing. She had dad in place maybe 2 minutes before I brought the bride to do the first look. They did the first look. They had their moment. It was really cute. She had hot pink shoes and he had some fun socks on. So we got some pictures of them like showing each other their like cute shoes and their cute socks. And a few times people were looking at me like, what are we going to do? And I was like, we're going to be okay. Because I had planned, there's always one extra time in the timeline. Always have extra time in the timeline. Two, our timelines are like dream timelines. So I had, we're going to have the girls to the church and do all the pictures of the girls. Then they'll go hide away. Then the boys will arrive and then we'll do pictures of the boys and then they will hide away and then the guests will come. Well, you know what? On a day like that, things don't always happen as you want, but there's extra time in the timeline. And, as wedding vendors, we have to adjust, which is exactly what me and my team did and exactly what the photographer did. Thank God we had a good photographer. Christina Powell was the photographer. She was amazing. So check her out as well. She was very like hands-on. How can I help? What can I do? Let's adapt and just get this done. So we did the first look with the dad. She got some pictures with her mom. While we were doing that, the other photographer was getting the bridesmaids all lined up in the lobby of the hotel, ready for a bridesmaid first look. So they were like positioned on these stairs, really cute. And so I brought the bride down and they did, their little reveal, seeing her for the first time. And as they were like giving her hugs, I was calling the bus saying, okay, come pull up. Because the bus, we had a mini bus and he was there like, when he was supposed to be like an hour earlier. So I told him long before, I was like, find a parking spot and hang out because the girls are not ready. But as the girls were doing their little first look, I was calling him saying, okay, pull up the bus. So right as they finished their first look, gave her hugs, gathered their stuff, walked outside, and the bus was there to pick them up and go to the ceremony. Then we went over to the church, which was supposed to be like a 35, 40-minute drive. I want to say it took us more like 50, 55 minutes because it was pouring rain, foggy, pouring rain, traffic on the highway. And I was like, why? My sis and I were going to stop at Chick-fil-A for some lunch, and that did not happen. So, hey, that's just the name of the game. This is why when I Google map, like how long something's going to take, if it says like 35, 40 minutes, I put usually like 50 minutes or an hour in the timeline for travel time for this reason. So we got there. My assistant ran into a little like convenience store and got us like a little peanut butter bar and a Powerade, and that was lunch, which was, hey, fine. At least we ate something on wedding day. But we got to the church. We did pictures of the girls. I will say that the rain made it much more difficult um, to try to do pictures of the bride and hold an umbrella over her. Hey, but we got it done. It was all good. Just hear me out when I say add time in your timeline. I know you don't want to even think about rain, but you have to think about rain. What are you going to do? Do you have an umbrella? Do you have to go outside? When you're picking your venue, I would also suggest to think about these things. Every time you have to like walk outside or go on a bus or travel, it just makes it a little bit more complicated. It's not a bad thing. They're Catholic. They want to be married in this beautiful church. Perfect. Fantastic. But you have to think about all of these little steps in between and just make sure that you're prepared for it. If you don't want to put the energy into preparing for it, then I would suggest not to do it. I would suggest to find a venue where you can just go from ceremony or from getting ready to ceremony to cocktail to reception, easy peasy, no transitions. Um, and maybe look when you're touring venues, are there spots that I could do photos outside that are undercover or inside that are beautiful in case it's a rainy day outside? Photographers are always going to want to bring you outside for photos because the daylight is just so much better. But maybe think about these things before you pick a venue. So anyway, we get to the church, we do pictures of the girls, and then the boys were, already on their way because I gave them a time to leave the hotel and head to the church. And so thank God this groom was so nice and he was so good with communication, and he was calling me and he was like, "Hey, is she still outside? Like, I don't want to see her. What am I supposed to do?" Because the bride and groom were not doing a first look. So, um I was like, "She's still outside. She's on the north side of the church. You need to pull up to the south side of the church and go in a side door." And he was like, "Okay." I was like, so we went through. I was like, as you're looking, if you're sitting in a pew of the church and you look to your left, there's a side door. Go in that side door and stay in that side door. Thankfully, the church didn't have like big windows where you could see outside. It was pretty enclosed. A lot of like stained glass, so there's still lighting in the church, but um, not like see-through glass. And so he went in the south side of the church, stayed inside, and the second shooter went and did photos of the groom kind of on the front of the church on the south side of the church, while we had the bride and the bridesmaids on the north side of the church. I will admit now to you guys, I was a little stressed. I was kind of a lot stressed. Because I want it to be really good. And that's just it was fine. It's just not this that would never be plan A. Plan A was do the pictures, have time, go inside. But we didn't have that. Between hair and makeup being over an hour late and then traffic being horrendous with the rain and stuff, we just had to get it done. This is why I love when photographers have a second shooter. Please make sure your photographer is adding a second shooter. Please, please, please. And if you're hiring a planner who isn't me, make sure they have an assistant, at least one assistant always. I don't even care if you're doing a small micro wedding, 30 people, make sure that they have an assistant because you always want at least two people. For example, this just played out twice. One, I was going to stop for lunch and I thought, oh, we have a long drive. I'll just run through Chick-fil-A. It'll be fine. Didn't have time. And so I did have like beef sticks in my purse, which we had some of that. And I had a few little snacky things, and then my assistant ran in the store and got us another little protein bar, peanut butter bar thing. Um, but because I had an assistant, she was able to run and do that for me while I was able to, keep the bride under the umbrella. And then the photographer's second shooter, they were able to divide and conquer. So she went and got pictures of the groomsmen while the first shooter was doing the bridesmaids. And yeah, so again, make sure the planner always has an assistant, make sure the photographer has a second shooter. You will not regret it. I promise you, you will not regret it. So we had the bridesmaids photos, we did the groomsmen photos. And honestly, pretty quickly, the guests were arriving. They were starting to show up, and I, as fast as I possibly could, was pinning the boutonnieres on the boys. I will say there were 10 groomsmen plus the groom, plus the father of the bride and the father of the groom. And so, if I can do math correctly, that's 13 boutonnieres. I have never done boutonnieres so fast in my life. And thank God, like, I must say I'm getting pretty good at it. Must say I'm getting pretty good at it. I've learned the trick. I can do them. I hate pinning boutonnieres. I don't know why they give us the worst pins ever for boutonnieres, but I pinned all 13 boutonnieres. We got the bridesmaids their bouquets really, really quick. And then it was time for ceremony. So we got them all in the church. I will say ceremony was supposed to be at 3 o'clock, and we got the bride down the aisle at 3:07. So we started the processional at 3:05. That's not too shabby. I have heard of weddings running so late. And so to be an hour behind with hair and makeup and the traffic and the rain to get the bride down the aisle at 3:05, I was like, we crushed it. We did it. Um, so then we get the bride down the aisle, and I'm sitting in the back pew, like, whew, I have a minute to breathe. We are, this was like step one. And again, it's not that there was like emergency, like, oh no, the day is going so bad. It just plan A didn't happen. And so now it was time to get serious and get things done. And we could have said, hey, scrap the photos of the bridesmaids, scrap the photo of the groomsmen. But I didn't want to do that because I knew that even after the ceremony, we wanted to do more pictures. And we had to drive back to Jupiter, and the sun was going to set. And so me and the photographer really wanted to get everything done, the way it was planned. And so I'm really proud of us that we did that. Very proud. Thankful to the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. Everyone cooperated, which is not always the case, but I will say they definitely cooperated. They were not super drunk or anything like that. If they were a drunk crowd, this would not have happened. Like, absolutely would not have happened. But they were really good. Even like one of the groomsmen all day was like checking in on me. He's like, "Are you okay? Have you eaten anything? You're doing such a good job. Like, do you need help with anything?" And I'm like, "No, I got it. We're good." um, so I'm sitting in the back pew, and one of the bridesmaids, the wedding party was sitting down in the front row of the wedding, or of the front row of the pews. One of the bridesmaids comes and circles back and is like, "Sydney, she forgot, um, they were little coins. I guess it's part of their like traditions to have the coins as like a symbol. Um, I guess it's these special coins that have been passed down for like generations and generations. And it's some symbol that they wanted to, like a unity symbol type thing, to use in the ceremony. And in the rehearsal, we talked about the mom having the coins. Well, I don't know what happened, but one of the bridesmaids comes to me and says, "The coins are on the bus." And I was like, "What?" "Excuse me? The coins are where?" And they're like, "The coins are on the bus." And I was like, "Okay." And so I, you guys, if you have an idea of how I can, as a planner, make all of these situations completely go away, let me know. Because I really try my best to make sure that there are no situations. I confirmed multiple times with hair and makeup what time they needed to be done, how many ladies there were, what time they were starting. I need people to do their jobs, which is why I love my full service clients. Well, I love all my clients, but I love with my full service clients that I can make recommendations with hair makeup teams that I've worked with before, with vendors that I've worked with before. And so I trust them more than strangers. So, other than that, I don't know how to make sure that they do their job when they tell me, "Yep, we'll be done by this time." I'm like, "Okay." I can't control the rain, can't control the weather, can't control traffic. I can control the timeline, which we put extra time in. Thank God. And I did that. And that's the only reason why we got the bride down the aisle at the exact time. As far as personal items, that wasn't like the coins weren't in my list of things to set up or anything. I was told the mom would have them, and they were on the bus. So I was like, okay. So I run out of the church, called the bus driver. I was like, where are you? And he's like, I'm in this like back parking lot about a block or a little bit more than a block away. It's probably like a block and a half to 2 blocks away. And the traffic on Palm Beach is awful. And I was like, shoot, by the time you bring this big old bus down the street, I could have run there and back. So I run to the bus in the rain. It was like drizzling at this point, but I run to the bus, start looking through the bus, and I'm like, I cannot find these coins. Absolutely cannot find these coins. So this is a reminder. If you have personal things, make sure you have them. Um, so, and the coins, this is like a tradition that they wanted to do. This isn't like I made sure the best man had the rings, like it would be different if I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about the rings. Like that wouldn't be doing my job. But this was something very specific that I thought like the mom was going to have. Anyway, now from here on out, I'm going to double, triple check and double check everyone. I'm going to be like, does everyone have their underwear on at this point? Like, sorry if that was bad, but like seriously, I'm gonna have to check. Does everyone have everything? I know it was a stressful day. This is no shame to those people. Look, I'm a human being too. I forget things too. It was just an unfortunate oh shoot. Okay. So I think what happened is that at some point the maid of honor was like, oh, I'll just put them in my purse. And then she left her purse on the bus, which I get it because it's like, oh, I'll just leave this here. We'll come back for it. But she just forgot that like she needed her purse before the ceremony. So it's okay. Everyone's human. So I run back to the bus. I'm looking for these coins and I have no idea where they're at because at this point I didn't know that they were in the maid of honor's purse. I just was told they're on the bus. And I was like, where? And they're like, I don't know. So I went to the bus, looked all around. I was like, I don't see coins. So I run back to the church. And then they're like, it's in a black Chanel. And I was like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, I'm sure. I was like, okay. So I run back to the bus. You guys, this is insanity. This is not how I like wedding days to go. But anyway, and is it my job to go collect their personal items? Like, technically, no, but I want the wedding day to go as smooth as possible. I'm going to try my absolute best. And so this was me trying my absolute best. Even if it's, really not my job to go run blocks and blocks for a personal item that you forgot. I'm going to try my best. And the bride had no idea, by the way. That was the other thing is like the bride had no idea. And I knew that the priest was going to be like, okay, and like you can bring up the coins. And I was like, this is going to be upsetting to the bride and embarrassing of like, oh, we don't have them. I didn't want that moment to happen. But I will say I didn't know when in the ceremony he was going to ask for the coins. If it was going to be towards the beginning, towards the end. At this point, I'm like running blocks. There's only so fast I can run. There's traffic. I'm crossing the street. Like, there's only so much I can do. Anyway, they're like, black Chanel. And I was like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, run again all the way back to the bus. Just grab the whole purse, bring it to the church. I, as politely and calmly as possible. It was like when I stepped out of the church and no one was around, I was like, ah. And then as soon as I walked in, I was like, and smile, like be calm and poised and put together. So I go back in the church, hand them the bag, and I swear to you, by the time I sat back in that back pew, the priest was like, and if you can hand us the coins or bring them up, and they had them. And I was like, thank God. I felt like wedding planner of the century, Like I was like, oh my gosh, I just saved these girls who forgot their stuff. And again, I try to remind them of everything and like the rings. I made sure that the best man had the rings, but this is a personal item. I can't remind every single person of all of their personal items that they want to bring. And I collect items like Unity sand, Unity candles. Like I collect all of that at the rehearsal the day before and we'll set it up. But this was like a personal item that they said they were bringing. So I was like, okay. Anyway, they got the coins. I sat in that back pew like, whoa, catching my breath. My assistant was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, no, but I will be. I was very glad the Catholic ceremony was about that the mass was like 45 minutes because I had one time to run to the bus and back 5 times, twice, but still. 2 was glad that I had a minute to just sit in the back. I did have two other assistants at the Pelican Club where the reception was, and thank God they were texting me, "Hey, everything's done, everything's set up, everything's good to go." And I was like, "Beautiful." And they're like, "We have extra time. Like, what do you want us to do?" And I was like, "Honestly, I don't care. I wanted you there early. I wanted everything done." And it was done. They were set up early, and I just was like, "Thank God." So at this point, I'm like, "Okay, I can breathe. Everything's gonna be fine." And it was. And it was. Spoiler alert, this was the worst part of the day. We were pretty much uphill from there. Actually there was a few little minor hiccups, but anyway, ceremony's done. We do the grand exit out of the church. Such cute photos. Like such cute photos. She was back and forth on doing like the grand exit from the church because we didn't have a lot of time, but I'm so glad she decided to do it. They were very cute photos. We really quickly did photos of the wedding party as a big group. Thank God they all cooperated. It was fast. We really quickly did photos of the family. Again, small family. They cooperated. It was fast. Um, and then we got everybody. I had the bus pull up. I called them, had the bus pull up. The wedding party got on the bus. They were wrapping up. They just did a couple like Mr. and Mrs. photos as we were waiting for the bus to pull up. And then we left, which was perfect. Traffic was awful again, but I kind of planned on it being awful. I will say right before she got on the bus, she was like, "I forgot my reception shoes at the hotel." And I was like, "Of course. Perfect." So I took the room key and I said, "Look, I'll go get your shoes. But that means when you get to the reception, I won't be there for the first probably 30 minutes. I have to go to the hotel." And so I said, "I have two team members at the Pelican Club and here are their names. This is kind of what they look like. I will call them and make sure they know that they, need to help you." And so she was like, "Okay, perfect." And so I called my other assistants and I was like, "Hey, I have to go to the hotel. So when they get there, please go up, introduce yourself, make sure that she is good to go." And so I went to the hotel, got her shoes. My assistant that was with me, her and I may have stopped at McDonald's because at this point we were starving. And I knew, hey, everything at the reception is good to go. They're there. My bride is taken care of. And this is why I'm so glad I have a good team. I really have the best team. They are so amazing. And I'm very thankful for them because I couldn't do it alone. Anyway, so we went to the hotel, got our shoes, stopped at McDonald's, and then they got to Pelican Club. They got pictures of Mr. and Mrs. The sun was setting, so we were like, "Okay, let's do Mr. and Mrs. Get those while we have some daylight, and then we'll do wedding party, and then we'll do family photos." And we were able to knock most of them out during sunset. A few of them were once it was dark out and we used flash. I will say I saw a preview of these photos and they're so cute. They turned out so good. And the bride knew sun was going to set. We were going to do the best we could. We did it. Um, they went over to cocktail hour. We just finished setting up, minor details like lighting candles, things that you don't want to do too early, putting like ice water in all the glasses. And then that was it. Reception started. We did entrance, first dance, daddy daughter dance, mother son. When I tell you that when I popped my head into the kitchen and said, "Hey, they're wrapping up." Oh, I said, "Hey, the priest is about to do a blessing and then we're ready for salads." It was, I think it was 6:30 or 7. I'm pretty sure it was 6:30 was, yeah. I think reception was started at 6. I don't remember the time, guys. This was last week. I've looked at like 7 more timelines this week for future weddings. I don't remember what time. Um, Actually, it was reception began at 6:30. So first course was 7 o'clock. When I tell you it was like 6:58 that I said, "Hey, priest is about to do a blessing. We're ready for salads." Like salads served at 7 on the dot. Somehow we went from starting the day an hour behind to the ceremony, her going down the aisle 5 minutes behind schedule, which is like honestly even pretty common on a on schedule wedding. We usually sometimes I wait like a couple minutes just to make sure all the guests are seated. But we had her down the aisle at, like 5 minutes behind schedule, which is basically on time. And then for reception to begin on time and salad to be served exactly on time and dinner to be served exactly on time. Then they danced the night away. We had so much fun. It was such a good party. They had late night like empanadas. I didn't get to taste one. I wish I did. But anyway, danced the night away. It was such a good night. Then we did this grand exit with these streamers. If you guys want streamers for your grand exit, make sure that you look at no mess streamers. They're still kind of a mess, but make sure you look at no mess streamers because they have like a string and so they pop out, but they are still attached. Anyway, you guys, we did that. We cleaned up and that was the whole wedding day. So I know that was a lot. I know that sounds like craziness. It definitely was more stress than I would want for a wedding day. I never want it to go behind schedule at all, but the reality of things is that sometimes things pop up. I will say be, very specific on the vendors that you choose. Make sure that they're going to do their job. Timeline is very important. I don't know exactly what to tell you as far as if vendors don't follow the timeline. I would just say have wiggle room in your timeline and figure out what can we cut, what can we adjust, how do we get this day back on track. A good team that will work together is so key. If the photographer wasn't cooperating with me, there's no way we would have had this done. But I had never worked with this photographer before, so I scheduled a Zoom meeting with her prior. We chatted what I thought was going to be like a 15-minute call turned into an hour call because her and I just got along really well. So thank God we got to chat, we got to know each other. And then on the wedding day, we were able to tackle it together. So with that said, I just thought this recap of this wedding day would be entertaining, but also like a lot of good lessons. And I do want to say this bride handled this like a champ. I should have said this earlier. She handled all of this like a champ. I mean, she could have been freaking out. I could tell she was a little nervous and stressed. I also think she was feeding off of my energy. And so I was like, we're good. We're good. I promise you we're gonna get it done. We got it. We got to get going. Time is tight, but we're good. We're gonna make it happen. We're going to adjust and everything's good. And so she was looking at me like, if you're good, I'm good. On the inside, I was a little like, I don't know if we're going to be good. I knew we would be fine. I knew it'd be fine. I was worried that we wouldn't get all of the pictures that she wanted. And I was also like worried if people wouldn't cooperate, but they did cooperate. And so we were good to go. So yeah, this is not a bash on the bride. This is not a bash on that wedding. It was a beautiful wedding, stunning wedding. Look, things happen. This is why you have a coordinator. This is why I had a team of people with me. And we got it all done. So with that said, I hope that you learned some lessons here. I hope that this was, good to listen to and maybe you got some nuggets out of it. Also have a coordinator. Have a coordinator because I had multiple bridesmaids coming to me being like, "Oh my God, thank God you're here." Because before you came, everyone was slow poking around and no one was I was trying to gather people, but no one was listening. And who would have run to the bus to get their stuff? I mean, really, that's not part of the coordinator's job, just saying. But I do my best to make my clients as happy as possible. So I would definitely hire a coordinator, hire one with a big team. And I was at the ceremony while the other part of my team was setting up the reception. The Pelican Club lets you in 2 hours prior. And so 2 hours prior, I was smack in the middle of the ceremony. There was no way I could be in two places at once. So make sure when you're hiring vendors, ask them about their team. How many members do they have? How many people do they bring? Some people are like, they're like, why do you need that many people? And I'm like, just trust that I have the right amount of people for what I need. Like if I'm telling you I want 3 assistants that day, there's a reason and just trust me. Trust me. It's because you know why I want that many assistants? Because I do weddings all the time and I have learned how big of a team I need. And so I would just, hire good vendors, hire a coordinator, hire me. I would love to do your wedding. And, as long as we're going to hire a team that doesn't run behind and we're not going to forget any personal items on a bus. Other than that, we're good to go, So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the entertainment aspect of this recap. But it really was a great day. The bride was stunning. She was so sweet, handled all of this like a champ. And I think also that's why we got it all done because she was like, Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do and we'll get it done. And we did. I know it's not also she didn't even know about the whole bus thing. She had no idea. It was like two bridesmaids that knew and were communicating with me. So that's also like another big part. I didn't say a word to her. And at the reception, like late in the night, I kind of walked by and overheard one of the bridesmaids being like, did you even know the coins were on the bus? And she was like, what? And she looked at me. I was like, I ran like 10 blocks for you, girl, and you don't even know. But that's also key. I'm telling you guys like the behind the scenes secrets, but on the wedding day, calm, cool, collected. The bride doesn't need to know what happened. I wasn't even going to really tell her, why upset her? Why, we don't need to tell her. So she handled it like a champ, but yeah, it wasn't as dramatic as maybe I made it seem to the bride because she didn't even know what was happening. And that's what I feel like my job is to fix it, just get it done, fix it, and don't make a big deal. Don't draw a scene, and the bride doesn't need to know. As long as we got it, I'm not saying to keep secrets from the bride, but she doesn't need to know unless she really needs to know. But this, she didn't need to know. So, with that said, you guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you want help planning, I would love to help you. I'd be happy to even do, let's chat. Let's schedule a call. I have a link on my website. We can talk for like 15 minutes about your wedding and see how I can help. And I wish you guys the best. So, with that said, make sure you have extra time in your timelines. That is key here. Make sure you have a good team, good timeline, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.